Hello and welcome back to The Hungry Lamb, traveling in the late Ming Dynasty. My name is Ming Dynasty, and yeah, from now on I'm going to call it The Hungry Lamb because traveling in the late Ming Dynasty is a little bit long of a subtitle, and I decided to say it this time because I forgot the traveling part last time. But yeah, we basically are in the shoes of Liang, who is basically someone who does like some shady work. Him and his friend Tung seem to have gotten a commission to do this one thing where they're basically participating in human trafficking. They're greeted with like these 4 kids, but one of them is kind of like a little bit off, so they replaced the kid with this other mute girl who seems to be very obedient. So they're like, yeah, okay, we're gonna spend like, I don't know, over a month traveling with these kids who are tied up so that we can deliver these people to some rich dudes so we can get enough money to last us a few years. Yeah, and we kind of continue on, you know, basically bringing them to the first fireplace. And while we're doing this, it seems like the mute girl gets up. It's like, I need to use the bathroom via sign language or whatever, indicating it. And, well, not sign language, but indicating that she needs to use the bathroom. And we take her there just for her to basically shank us. And, yeah, we got our first bad end. But in a case where we don't let her shank us, we learn that she's actually a girl who's chasing after this one demon thing who she believes that we're being delivered to because she wants to get revenge for her family, and she was part of a family of some farmers who grew wheat or something, and we were like, okay, we're gonna smack you a little bit because you have to be punished, but we're gonna ignore this and continue on. So yeah, it's a little bit long of a summary, but this game, it's interesting, but it's a little bit uncomfortable because of the topics it deals with. But I think it's probably worth it to play through. So right now I'm currently in this part of the flowchart. So I did this optional thing. I want to continue through this, and then later on I want to see what happens if I do the other choice. So let's head into it. I knew why Dad named me Mansui. Dad was a farmer working a hectare of hectare? I don't know this word. It's like hectare, I'll just say it like that. Hectare of land. The hectare he farmed was all planted with wheat. In spring, wheat was green, and come summer, it would transform into a stunning golden color. And Dad would go harvest the wheat when summer was drawing to a close. Back then, I would trail behind Dad one step after another. Dad prayed for a good harvest every year and hoped that the wheat would fill the entire field. That's why after my birth, he named me Mansui, meaning full head of wheat, and named me Sweeter. Wait a second. The language went back to... What? What was that? The game glitched. It went to Chinese dub, even though it had something weird English thing. Yeah, back to Japanese. I squatted down and gently stroked the kitten's chin. When I stroke its chin, it'd feel good. Raise its head, squint its eyes, and start purring. I couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of the kitten. Oh my gosh, she's so cute now. Recently, a kitten had been regularly showing up at our doorstep. A stray kitten came from nowhere and found its way to our village one day. At first, it would wander around the village entrance, and Dad said that sooner or later, it would be butchered and eaten. I couldn't stand the thought of that, so I kidnapped it and brought it home. I didn't keep it locked up. Instead, I just let it roam around every day. Ever since, however, since I had been regularly feeding it, it didn't usually stray too far from my home. Over time, it became my cat. I stroked the cat's head and asked it. I don't understand cat. The cat meowed at me once. I didn't understand what it was saying, but my guess was that it had probably gotten separated from its mom and had been wandering for a very long time. I tilted my head and asked it. The kitten meowed again. I still didn't understand what it was saying. I got fish for you. Not understanding the language of cats, I smiled and gently patted the cat's head. Then I walked over to a small clay pot next to the front door. I reached into the pot and took out a small fish the size of my palm. I caught it in the river this morning. I gave the small fish to the kitten. The kitten joyfully snacked the fish with its 2 paws, licking it fervently with its tongue. This old lady's like, what is this girl doing? You know, you could eat that fish and feed yourself for a day. Why give it to a cat? And that's when I would take the opportunity to pet it. I put my hand on its back, slowly stroking its fur. It's very well behaved. It doesn't move no matter how I pet it.
こら、水事や。魚を畜生にやるなんてもったいない。
That's exactly what I was saying, and now Swear is like, ah!
私が川で捕まえたのよ。小さくて私たちには食べられないから子猫にあげたの。
小さくても肉があるんだ。父さんに山菜と一緒に料理してもらうんだよ。
We also did describe this girl as very cat-like.
ひどいね。この年になって畜生の方がいいものを食べてる。私たちは1年に何回も肉を食べられないんだよ。なのにこの子ったら魚を畜生にやるなんて。
Grandma's got a point, bro. I hear my grandma's non-stop complaints in my ears. As Grandma grew older, her nagging also gradually increased. She complained about Mom the most, and me next. Mom really took good care of Grandma. She never talked back when Grandma was nagging. Instead, she would bow her head and admit her fault and adjust silently. I thought that was really smart. If you talked back to Grandma, she would counter 10 times, and so forth without an end.
水事、遊んでないで。ちょっと手伝って。
While I was thinking about Mom, she suddenly called out my name.
待てない。在時にお粥を食べさせてるんだから。
何を手伝うの？
野菜を洗って。
わかった。
I shouted to my mom inside the house.
猫ちゃん、あとは自分できれいに食べるのよ。
I patted the kitten's head and tossed the fish onto the ground. The kitten obediently lifted its head and let out a meow as if it understood my words. Seeing how tragic this game seems to be going, I feel like this cat's not gonna live very long. Such a clever kitten. I sighed in admiration silently, then turned around and went inside to help Mom. Mom was feeding porridge to my brother. I grabbed a bunch of wild vegetables piled in the corner of the room. The roots of the vegetables were covered in dirt, emitting an earthly scent. To prevent the house from becoming damp, we washed the vegetables outside. I carried the vegetables washing basket outside and started washing vegetables next to Grandma, who was sunbathing. She glanced at me with her eyes half closed before dozing off again. Mom already taught me how to wash vegetables. I scooped some water from the water tank and poured some into the vegetable washing basket, then tossed the wild vegetables in. After soaking the vegetables for a while to remove dirt, I changed the water and used my hands to scrub them. I wanted to clean the vegetables well so Mom would praise me for being responsible when she sees them later.
今日は5月6日。そういえば、水事の誕生日もちょうど5
Oh,
月
it's her
6日ね。
birthday, May 6th.
お母さん、お姉ちゃんは何歳
8歳よ。あと何年かしたらお
Oh,
嫁に行く。
damn, so early.
あと何年
6年かしら。14歳になって髪を束ねられるようになったらお嫁に行けるのよ。
It do be like that in these days.
じゃあ僕は何歳でお嫁に行けるの
あなたは男。
Aww.
お嫁には行かないの。あなたはこの家を継ぐの。科挙に受かったらお嫁さんをもらうのよ。
She also had an older sister who was the one that got taken by the demon. I was watching vegetables outside the house and I could hear their conversation. He's my younger brother. He was 3 years old and just learned how to talk last year. Ever since my brother was born, the most adored child in the family has become him instead of me. I felt jealous when my younger brother took away the love that used to be directed at me and the family. There are times when I really disliked him and times when I really liked him. In the past year, I guess the liking part has been a bit more than the dislike. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice which made me immediately stop my job and raise my head. A man was approaching from the farmland in the distance. I mean, I guess it's Daddy, right? He was dressed in burlap fabric and wearing a bamboo hat. He was tall and broad, and there would always be a tender smile on his face. He's my dad and my favorite family member.
お父さん
I ran over right away and hugged his thigh upon seeing him.
おお水事よしよし
Very wholesome so far. it's gonna end up very bad, I'm sure. Dad stroked my head like how I stroked the kid's head.
セイジ、今日は何を持って帰ったか当ててごらん。
Fish. Or well, actually, if this shape, it might be a radish.
何？
I curiously leaned forward. Then Dad took out the treasure that he had hidden for a long time. It was a dark red thing with a weird shape like a wooden ball. I think that's a sweet potato or yam.
お父さん、これは何？
Aw, Grandma's not being really mean now. And Mom's here. It's like, yeah, let's not talk about Sweeter and talk about our boy.
さつまいもと呼ばれるものだそうだ。珍しい舶来品だぞ。食べると長生きできるらしいぞ。
どこで手に入れたの？
ああ、ちょっと奮発して
He
村
probably
の
got
人から買ったん
scammed.
だ。
No.
もうお金がないんだから無駄遣いしないでちょうだい。
大丈夫。たまにはいいもん食って力をつけないと。もっと土地を耕せば
Oh, whoops.
金は取り戻せるさ。
Dad explained while smiling, and Mom didn't say anything more. I put my hands on the potato, which was rough on the surface. It seemed like it had to be peeled first before eating.
お父さん、食べてみたい。僕も。
I told Dad I wanted to eat the sweet potato, and my brother also wriggled into Mom's arm, saying he wanted some too.
何がそんなに珍しいのかね。私も食べてみようか
You
ね。
have to cook it first. Even Grandma stumbled in from outside the house, saying that she wanted some.
よし、後で焼いてやるからな。慌てるな。みんなの分があるから。
Dad chuckled, stroking my head and shouting at us. I looked at my family in the house and felt blissful. I looked up towards the cloudless sky. I wanted to find a cloud that resembled me, but I couldn't. What will I be like when I grow up? Who will I marry in the future? Besides getting married, what else will I do in the future? I have no clues about any of these. I only know that I have a wish. I want to be with my family. Forever. So at this point, her sister probably already got, concubined. Ling, Chapter 4, Shadow Play. Ooh, okay. So before I actually continue this, I'm going to do the other option. Okay, so here it was, I chose to just hit her. Give her the punishment because I thought it'd lead to something bad. Let's go along with the conversation. Why not go along with her story and give her a little fright? Gotta spin a tale to avoid the awkwardness and maintain a bit of elder authority. Quite a laugh, you. A little girl talking about the rules with a bandit like me. I've been robbing and killing for years, avoiding official routes to transport you. Do you really think I'm a law-abiding person? Take off. I haven't done such a wicked deeds before. Today I'll give it a try. Okay, he's talking about doing something very inappropriate with her. Hearing my words, even her back turned, she was startled. My act must have hit the mark. She bought the idea that I was really gonna do it and started crying.
様、許して。ダメ。本当にダメ。
She begged me, trying to dissuade me from the evil deed she anticipated. Even though I couldn't see her face, I could sense her fearful tears. I'm not one like Tongue to relish in the cries of lambs or find joy in teasing them. However, seeing this overly mature lamb now exposed to in her age-appropriate vulnerability gave me a strange sense of satisfaction. Alright, enough of that. No more scaring you, it's pointless. Can't figure out how a little girl's mind goes there. I could never do what you imagined. I told you to take off your skirt to spank you. Huh?
本当？
Little Mute stopped crying, her voice shaky, cautiously asking me. Yes.
じゃあ、叩いてもいい？
Sure will. I confirmed with action. Whoosh! I took her dagger, sliced the switch. Okay, this part is the same.
りょう様、本当に私は今から
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see this part though.
履いたままでいいですか？
No, hurry, take it off! I snapped coldly. She shakily reached for her skirt, fingers fumbling with the knots, hesitatingly untying them. The dim light, coupled with tall reeds, obscured the details from my view. Then I heard a soft rustle, blah blah, that's the same.
りょう様、優しく
Okay,
叩いてくれま
the
せん
rest
か？
here is the same, I believe. Okay, so that actually leads directly into chapter 4 instead of getting that extra scene. So, interesting. I'm just going to load up the save file where I actually went here. So, alright, we're in Shadowplay. I wonder what that's going to lead to. In the morning, a light mist covered the mountains and forest. The sun broke through the haze, shining on our campsite. The birds were already up at this hour, chirping with fatigue, as if signaling to the lambs that it's time to get up. Throughout the night, I remained vigilant to observe the surroundings. I held onto my blade, leaning against a tree, waiting for the break of dawn. Monsui's mindset was surprisingly good. Despite the events of last night, it didn't seem to bother her sleep. Once at the campsite, she soon drifted off, her delicate snores blending with the nighttime chorus of insects. Perhaps my spanking last night left her bottom too sore to lie down, so she chose to sleep on her stomach. With arms crossed on the ground, she nestled her head between them, half dozing with her backside in the air. Even more like a cat. After observing Monsui for a while, I took a brief glance at the other side at the other lambs and tongue. Midway through, I took a short nap, attempting to sleep with my eyes open. I tried sleeping with my eyes open several times over the years, but it never seemed to work. After a couple of hours of restlessness, I witnessed the sunrise across the hills as dawn arrived and Tongue woke up.
Akira! Minna Akira! Saki wa isogu zo!
Tongue, freshly awake, promptly urged the lambs to get up. He paced, shouted, and tapped his dagger on the tree next to the lambs, occasionally poking them. The lambs rubbed their eyes, sat up, and then stood up one by one. After everyone woke up, we hit the road. The sun was in the east, and we walked towards it. After an hour of walking, a lamb suddenly called me.
王様ちょっと
Hong-er called out to me. What's up? Need a potty again?
いいえお腹が空いたんです妹も私も
Uh-oh. Tongue's not gonna like this. Oh, I'll go get some grub.
りょう、待て。
I headed for the saddlebags, and at that moment, Tongue stopped me.
子羊の言いなりになってどうする？ほっとけ。俺たちには決まりがあるんだぞ。食事は毎日正午と夕方だけ。そうしないと子羊も管理できないし、時間もなくなる。
Oh, okay. I nodded and pulled back my hand from reaching for rations. Tongue was right. Rules bring order. Fetching grub every time a lamb is hungry would disrupt the routine and prevent them from realizing their disadvantaged situation. Hang in there a bit longer. I'll distribute rations at noon. I walked over to Hong-er and relayed my message. Their face showed a hint of disappointment. I glanced at them without saying more and continued on my way. They're like, "Oh, I was hoping you'd be the good one, but you're both bad cops." We kept going on the mountain path, moving slow to accommodate the lambs. Climbed up a bit, then went down another stretch. Past experiences suggested that we just passed Xiaohua Mountain into Mount Huashan's territory. Dense trees limited visibility. I couldn't spot Mount Huashan's peak. At noon, everyone was a bit hungry, and the lambs were shown signs of fatigue. We decided to take a short break, grab some food. But right at that moment, something unexpected happened. Are we gonna get attacked by other bandits?
りょう、早く来い。
Tongue at the front of the line suddenly yelled. He saw something in the woods, a surprised look on his face. He waved for me to come over. I was puzzled. I cautiously moved forward, hand on blade at my waist. Oh, that's a wrist. A corpse. Oh, fuck. The crow's eating his dinner. Shit. It's probably been here for a while now. We can hear the maggots. There's a box here, which means that... Oh, something's happened. I don't know. Oh, it looks like the box would probably contain a dead body, to be honest, but the dead body's outside. Clearing away the branches, what came into the view was a lifeless body. Leaning against a tree, probably a man. The reason I said probably was that he'd been dead for days, making it hard to distinguish his features. Trees connected to a white bone, bones fused with flesh, flesh clinging to clothes, all bound together. Shrouded with a black cloth on head, dressed in a ragged robe, hair unkempt. Face mostly hidden in the shadow of his hair, but glimpses of a body whole peeked through the strands. He probably got stabbed by a sword. Countless ants crawled over his mangled flies buzzing around. They darted in and out of his flesh, feasting on the man's corpse. I was curious why the body didn't stink. When I noticed the insects, the foul odor hit my nose carried by the wind. Gross. Suddenly, the disgusting smell of corpse hits me, filling my lungs and making my stomach churn. Xianghua, who came with us, got a big scare when she saw the corpse. Tung gave Xianghua a fierce look. Xianghua quickly stepped back in fear. Hong also noticed the corpse, didn't stare, and rushed back to block Kui from seeing. Mansui got a bit jittery seeing the corpse, but compared to the other girls, she held up well. She kept staring at the body, looking kind of spaced out. Deadly injury on the neck. Oh, on the neck? I mean, I guess you can't see the neck. I held my nose, leaning over to check the body. The man had a neat cut on his neck. Even though the blood had dried, it was clear that this cut ended his life. Oh, I don't know, man. It looks like... I thought there'd be blood, like, here, near the neck, but it's all like, over it. Or past it. Dead for days. Over 10 days. Definitely not an animal's doing. Someone killed him. Corpse is in good shape. No big beasts have come to eat it.
すると近くに盗賊がいるのは悪い知らせだが、野獣がいないのはいい知らせか?
There's also a box there. Might not be bandits. Could be someone from his same group who did it. If this route's not an official road, but we've been through it before. Hardly ever ran into bandits. Nowadays, travelers killing each other isn't uncommon. I shared my suspicions, stealing a glance at Mansui behind me. Indeed, had I been less cautious last night, I might have been killed by her and left sprawled by the lake. Oh yeah, that did happen. A fortnight later, my remains would be a feast for insects, discovered amidst the horrified screams. With that in mind, I felt the urge to give her a stern lesson again tonight.
りょう、何か持ってないか探ってみてくれ。
Box. I think this is supposed to be the river, but like it looks like it was just blots done in MS Paint. Alright. Enduring the odor, Tung and I decided to scavenge the corpse. This was our custom. In the forest, we always resembled wolves. Wolves would bite down on their prey worth biting, and they'd gnaw on leftover remains.
何もね、身ぐるみ剥がされてやがる。本当に盗賊の仕業のようだ。
If only there was a box. Not empty-handed, at least found this. I presented Tung with a unique find. Despite finding nothing on the man, we came across a wooden box nearby. The box was of a rich dark wood, a specific kind unknown to me. About 3 feet in length, it housed a donkey hide, 2 braces, 3 differently sized brushes and knives, 4 pre-cut puppets, and a cluster of dye bottles. Wait, so donkey hide, 2 braces. The thing is, it's a puppet, so it's supposed to be like a performer? I knew these things. The wooden box contained items for a shadow play. Oh, he did mention shadow plays before.
なんだこりゃ。
Used for shadow play performances.
影劇? じゃあ、この男は役者か?
Not necessarily. Maybe he just had to resort to shadow play as a means of making a living. I casually told Tung as I spoke. I began packing up the man's wooden box, intending to stow it in our belongings.
おい、りょう、そんなガラクタが欲しいのか? 盗賊でさえ欲しがらないんだぞ。街で売ったところでいくらになる?
We can always do shadow play stuff in town to potentially make some more money. I just want it.
じゃあ、そいつは食料から遠く離してくれ。匂いが移っちまう。
Luckily, this box was already far from the corpse. Saying that, I wedged the wooden box into a gap in the stuff on the pack horse.
ますます食欲がなくなってきた。
We missed lunch by 2 hours. Finding a dead body tended to ruin everyone's appetite. During this time, Xianghua and Hong struggled with nausea, luckily disturbed by the memory of the corpse. They held back from vomiting, not wanting to lose precious food. Vomiting would mean one less meal, and it might draw attention, risking a scolding from us. 2 hours later, Tung and I handed out the grub to the lambs. I took a short nap at noon, and Tung took the lambs for a bathroom break. Then, he also rested for a bit while keeping watch. In the afternoon, we walked along the long stretch. Wait, we walked along a long stretch. Sorry, the along part kind of got me. A long stretch of mountainous trail. It got tougher with a good stretch of unused trail. We pushed through the weeds, and sometimes I had to use my blade to cut through the thorns blocking the way. Xianghua's legs got a bit shaky during this. There was a moment when she slipped into a mountain ditch. Luckily, she had a rope tied around her waist, and we swiftly pulled her back up. After getting pulled up, she was still shaken. Tongue mocked with a few mean comments, but Mansui approached, took her hand, and comforted her. Shivering and teary-eyed, Xianghua slowly calmed down with Mansui's silent comfort. Okay, so Mansui is going to continue this mute act, but to be fair, it would be to her advantage, since she knows that Liang is not going to retort. Mansui took care of things for us. Tongue and I weren't going to cuddle the sensitive lamb. Even Tongue had to admit, well, this mute lamb is the most worry-free. Oh, if only he knew. But now it's like we're bad cops and Mansui is the good cop. Even though she's not a cop. Or neither are we, but you know what I mean. As Tongue said that, I glanced at Mansui. At that moment, she raised her eyes and looked at me with a hint of smugness, as if to say, see? I fooled him. Her look made me want to punch her. Get that smug face off your face. I knew that she was faking being mute, lied about her age, and was the trickiest, most dangerous troublemaker. But to keep her alive, I kept to myself, not telling Tongue any of it. Come to think of it, why am I even bothering keeping this girl alive? Why cover up what happened last night from Tongue? We may not be best buddies, but after all we had been through together, why was I reluctant to spill the beans to Tongue? I mean, because like, if Tongue knows there's trouble, you know that he's gonna kill her, and like, the way Liang was describing Mansui was basically he had a vision of her with her family in a field of wheat, and basically imagined her happy. And I think he wants that to happen. He wants her to be happy, despite all the shit that she kind of put him through last episode. So that's my impression of him, and you know, mouth, tongue. I didn't know. Every time I wanted to spill the beans to Tongue, I felt this tightness in my chest, making me choose to keep covering for her. It was stifling. At night, the lambs had another meal of rations and water. After eating, Tongue and I had to get the fire going and arrange the bed.
りょう、口なしの縄をほどいてやろう。
Why?
インさんは聞き分けがいいから縛らなくていいと言ってた。最初は信じられなかったが、今は縛らなくていいと思える。
Hook, line, sinker, 100% deceived.
ほどいてやれば、木の枝を拾う人間が一人増える。毎日の作業も早く終わる。
Can't trust this brat. I shot a cold look at Mansui and said to Tongue.
俺より警戒心が強くなったな。安心しろ。子羊一匹じゃ何もできまい。この山では逃げようにも逃げられんのさ。
Fine, just untie her at this time every day. I agreed with Tongue and went up to untie Mansui. While he's really like, Tongue is really able to convince Liang of a lot of stuff. While doing so, I kept a close eye on her. Of course, I didn't trust her. Even though I had taken away her small dagger and searched her thoroughly to make sure that she had no hidden weapons. If she found a chance to grab a sharp stone or attack our necks or poke my eye, it would be pretty dangerous. Go, get us some firewood. I untied the rope from her waist and gave her a stern order. She didn't dare to defy, nodded, and went off to collect some firewood. Tonight, Tongue would sleep first, and then it would be my turn. I got a couple of hours to spare, so I might as well make the most of it. In the next few days, staring at the sleeping lambs wouldn't reveal much, so I needed to find something else to do. I took out the wooden box from my stuff and put it on the grass. It contained items for shadow play. I went through each one. Briefly, I sniffed them to make sure that there was no stench from the corpse. Yeah, that's a good idea to potentially sanitize this before doing anything rash. That's why this chapter is called Shadow Play. It's about him receiving, or not receiving, looting this off the corpse of that dead body and, you know, I guess finding a hobby in this. Luckily, the box had only a slight smell and everything else inside was clean. I took a deep breath and I laid out the donkey hide from the box in front of the campfire. The donkey hide was... Oh, that's what it's for. I was like, why donkey hide? The donkey hide was thin and had been specially polished. I unfolded the donkey hide, spreading it out in front of the campfire by holding the two corners. So that's supposed to be like the screen, for lack of better words, for the shadow. The campfire's light, upon touching the donkey hide, spread softly, creating a gentle glow covering its surface. Oh, I remember this. The donkey hide was called a white screen. In Shadowplay, the performer set up the white screen with a wooden frame and light up with the lamps. Oh, okay, I thought it was supposed to be lit. Then performers can control the puppets from behind the white screen. Now the challenge was, how to use this frame. How can you support a white screen with two sticks? Stick it in the ground.
亮様、そうじゃないです。
Just as I picked up the two sticks, unsure of how to set up the white screen, I heard a voice beside me. I don't know if talking would be the best choice, especially since I'm supposedly around a lot of people. Monsui spoke to me in a hushed tone. I glanced at her and took a quick look at the others around. Tung had his head tilted back, eyes shut, and the rest of the kids were scattered on the ground like a tipped-over basket of radishes. They were all asleep with steady breathing. No wonder she dared to speak up. You know how to do it? Asked Monsui. She nodded, ready to come over and help. However, as she took the first step, the rope wasn't long enough. Oh, you can see the rope here, yeah. She looked at the rope around her waist, then glanced up at me with a pleading look. She looked at me. I looked back at her. Okay, I'll undo it for you. Don't try anything. You know, if you think about it, he could have just taken it close to her instead. I walked over and untied the rope around her waist from behind. They're still asleep. Let's not wake them up. We'll find another spot, carry the stuff there, and light a new fire to figure this out. I glanced at the sleeping group and whispered the plan to Monsui. She nodded in agreement. I took the box and went with Monsui to a cliff 50 paces away. It had a good view of the camp, while being well concealed itself. I told Monsui to gather some fresh wood, and I went back to the camp for a flame. I got some burning wood from the campfire and went off back to the cliff. Oh, there we go. I threw a flame to the new wood pile. Monsui and I watched as the new fire slowly lit up, brightening the cliff's surroundings. How did you learn how to do this?
おじじが影絵劇をやってたんです。父も習って、私にも教えてくれました。
And that's why her dad was her favorite parent.
一度、家の食料がなくなって、お金が必要になった時、父に連れられて、隣村で劇をして、たくさん稼いだこともありました。
And we got some sweet potatoes with that money. How much do you know?
基本なら何でも。
Monsui told me, taking the frame and white screen from my hands. Oh, I never noticed she had a mole under her right eye. She threaded the frame through the small hole next to the white screen, her wrist thinner than the frame, weaving back and forth, slowly lifting the frame onto the white screen.
亮様、支柱は高さが足りないです。2本少ない。木の枝とそれを縛る紐が必要です。
She got stuck halfway, seemingly facing a problem. You go find some.
でも、紐がどこにあるかわかりません。
She's like, ah. All right, I'll go. I got up and went to fetch what she needed. I went back to camp, grabbed 2 thin ropes from our equipment, and picked up some branches. Returning to the cliff where Monsui and I were, I handed her the items. She started tying the support frame and small branches with a rope, then threaded the small branches through the white screen. In no time, she had set up the white screen in front of the campfire.
亮様、どうして白幕を立てるんですか？
After finishing the setup, Monsui curiously asked me. I'm just bored. I replied casually.
亮様は私に影絵劇を教えてほしいんですか？
Sure. Teach me if you know. I'm bored anyway.
はい。 私も両様の役に立ちたい。この前は怒らせてしまって、罪滅ぼしがしたいと思ってました。
Please don't spank my tushy again. I know that's better than the alternative, but it still hurt a lot. Mansui continued checking the white screen, smiling as he spoke. That brat knew how to talk. However, she didn't simply piss me off. She wanted me dead. I kept that in mind.
両様、白幕は立てたけど、まだ足りないものがあります。
More? What's missing? Your blood.
楽器です。影絵劇は2人でやるものです。1人が人形を動かして、もう1人が伴奏。そのうち1人は歌も歌う。
Yeah, I got nothing. Where are we supposed to get instruments, bro? Alright, when we get to the city, I'll get a musical instrument. Dude, I thought you were already low on funds, right? For now, see if you can handle the shadows and give me a little show.
伴奏がないと歌えないし、そもそも私は歌えません。
Didn't you say you knew all the basics? I did the other
歌
part.
はダメです。歌詞は覚えていますが、全然うまく歌えません。前はいつも父が歌って、私は奏演や楽器の担当だったんです。
They're like, drums is not an instrument. Ah, shut up. Alright, just use the puppets first. I want to see.
でもまず人形が大丈夫かどうか見てみます。
Oh, that is actually a pretty decent frame. So that's the donkey skin, and she has a light source here. I thought the light source was supposed to be the fire, but I guess they made another one. I mean, it's hanging from the tree, so yeah. Okay, she's about to do the puppet show. She nodded and went behind the white screen to tinker with the puppet. I noticed that she needed a seat, so I fetched some wood. Oh, she's sitting on the wooden box. I didn't even notice. So I fetched the wooden box for her. She didn't sit fully on the box. I'm not sure if it was customary for shadow play artists or if she just couldn't sit down because her butt still hurt. That spanking from yesterday. Ooh, it really messed her up. I got up and went to her side, watching carefully. Aww. Aww. The puppet had a body attached to 2 bamboo sticks. She moved the sticks behind the white screen with her fingers. The puppet wore red robe armor, looked sturdy, and held a long spear-like weapon while riding a bright red horse. I recognized this puppet. Which character was it from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms? The horse? I believe... I don't know much about the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, to be completely honest. But I do know that Lu Bu had a horse called the Red Hare. And he did say red, so like... Lu Bu, okay. Currently, I'm here. So, it's not like my choice is going to make a difference. But I am kind of curious. It's going to be like one of those where it doesn't matter, but let's try it. I'm going to say Guan Yu because I think that's wrong. Is this Guan Yu? I looked at the puppet in Mansui's hand and asked.
いいえ、これは呂布。
Yep.
関羽は木箱にいる人形です。劉備、関羽、張飛、呂布。これは三英傑、呂布と戦うで使う人形。
Mansui pointed to the 3 puppets in the wooden box that hadn't been strung together yet. After she said that, I managed to recognize all the puppets. The black-faced one with a spear was Zhang Fei. The red-faced one with the broadsword is Guang Yu. The yellow-faced one with the 2 swords is Liu Bei. And the one Mansui was holding, riding a red horse and wielding a halberd, was the invincible Lu Bu. This girl knew quite a lot. She even figured out that these are the puppets for the performance the three heroes battle Lu Bu before I did. Why does only Lu Bu have a horse in the shadow play?
わかりません。呂布をかっこよく見せるためかもしれないですね。
I want to try to load up the other one because I want to see. I feel like that's probably where it separates. So this I'm going to say Lu Bu. Is this Lu Bu? Oh, well versed in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I didn't realize that was going to be a thing. I looked at the puppets in Mansui's hand and asked.
そうです。両様も知っているんですね。見て。劉備、
Okay, and this part is the same.
張
Okay.
飛、呂布。
So this is where we left off last time. The puppets aren't well made. If I made them, I give them all horses.
作り方を教えてもいいですが、木箱には材料がありません。
It's kind of weird because the horses have colors. I mean, the guy had paint also, but in a shadow play, aren't they all going to be the same color due to the fact that they're shadows? I opened the wooden box and saw the dye bottles inside had dried up. We might need to add water to use them. Even if we had dye, there was no spare materials to make significant changes to the puppets. Perhaps the dye in this bottle was originally meant for touch-ups, and the carving knives had become useless due to the lack of materials. As I thought about it, how did that body really end up dead today? Did he venture into Mount Huashan alone, or with others? Was he one of the shadow puppet performers, and were there more people with him? Could he have escaped from the theater group only to be chased down and killed? Numerous questions and speculations raced through my mind. However, there wasn't enough information at the scene for me to form a clear judgment. I might never uncover the true story. Alright, never mind. Didn't want to think about it too much. Time was short, so I had Monsui perform for me first. You perform. I ordered Monsui.
はい。じゃあ、りょう様は白幕の前に座ってください。
This is a really weird relationship because, I mean, clearly Monsui tried to kill us. I'm just gonna say us as Liang because we were in his POV. She tried to kill us, but she clearly had a reason for it because she thought that we were gonna kill her. And after explaining it, we kind of understand her situation. But she's still very clearly someone that can be a big threat. That's why Liang is very wary of her. But it feels like they're slowly trying to get closer, trying to understand each other more. She's trying to teach him the art of shadow play, and he's also trying to like, what's the right word? He's also covering for her, even though he doesn't know why. So I think because she knows that he's covering for her, she has a lot more respect for Liang due to the fact that she thinks that she might be potentially on her side. And as a result, she's willing to do all this stuff to help, well, teach Liang. Monsui said to me. I nodded, stood up, and went to sit in front of the white screen. Sitting down, I looked up at the white screen. Monsui also sat on the wooden box I had just moved, positioned behind the white screen in the center. Oh yeah, so it's gonna be like this. I wonder where the sticks like move. It looks like it's moving the arm, the entire body, and I don't know, maybe the head. I'm not sure. She wiggled her finger, and behind the white screen, the puppet of Zanfei appeared first. Oh, okay. I guess you can still see some of the color, so it's not like it removes the color completely. The puppet shook a couple of times, wielding the serpent spear in hand. To my surprise, not long after Monsui took a deep breath and softly began to not long after, Monsui took a deep breath and softly began to sing. Okay. She said she wouldn't sing, but as she performed, she thought shadow play without sound wasn't as good. To find her rhythm, she started humming softly. Her voice was low, like she was singing to herself, and the tone wasn't professional. She was probably remembering how her dad used to perform for her, imitating and singing along. I will say she was right. She can't really sing that well. Monsui kept singing in a hushed tone, while Zhang Fei brandished his serpent spear, shouting on the battlefield, ready for the imminent appearance of Lu Bu. The puppet's shadow swayed behind the blurred white screen, seemingly alive. The serpent's spear twirled, and a bright beam erupted from its tip, dazzling my eyes. How did that happen? Whoa! The scene played out again in front of me. Back then, my dad and I were also enjoying a shadow play. The lamps flickered, drums echoed, and the heroes of the stories clashed behind the white screen. Sun Wukong swung his golden staff, hitting the white-boned demon. The staff lit up with a golden glow as it struck the monster's head. Just as I was cheering for the performance, the spark suddenly grew stronger and turned into a bright light. In an instant, the intense light burst from the white screen, accompanied by a loud boom, swallowing the entire world. Oh, was there an accident with the shadow play? I do remember last episode, Mouth mentioned that that Liang had some trauma with fire or starting fires, and this might have been the origin of it. So an accident happened when they were at a shadow play? Bang. With a thunderous sound, everything was consumed by intense light. All I could see turned into a fiery ball. Ah! I shouted, jolting up from where I sat.
りょう様、どうしたんですか?
Can't watch. Shouldn't watch. I got up in a daze, my hands and feet unsteady, eyes wide open. I looked down, palms facing up, lifting both hands in front of my chest aimlessly. Sweat covered my face and back. Okay, I wasn't sure if I assumed that it was an accident that happened at the shadow play, but I wasn't sure if it was that or just visual effects from the shadow play to make it more dramatic, but it's clearly the former. Sweat covered my face and back. My heart raced, and my trembling hands couldn't stop shaking. I quickly scanned the surroundings and then stared blankly ahead of me, unable to focus. I repeatedly confirmed that I was in a dark environment, safe from the imaginary burst of intense light. I thought I could gaze into the flames again after many years, thought I could watch shadow plays once more. Now it seems I still can't. I came to my senses and found Mansui looking at me with a worried expression, trying to figure out what had come over me. I'm fine. Just not up for it today. Can't watch shadow plays anymore. Let's head back to camp. Don't want anyone getting suspicious about our absence. I gestured awkwardly to Mansui and muttered some explanation to her. Then I dared not glance at the white screen behind the flames. I put out the campfire, turned around, and stumbled back towards our original camp, paying no attention to whether the wooden box was neatly arranged or not. Even now, I kept avoiding it. Over the years, I thought I had changed, grown stronger, shifted from a lamb to a wolf, free from fear. Yet I still couldn't shake off that nightmare of that year. The 6th year of Tianqi. I stayed in the capital with my father, a traveling merchant, for a few days. Wow, what the... Oh, it might not have been an accident. It might have been like an attack from some other group. On the 6th day of May. Oh. On the 6th day of May. That was also the same day as Mansui's birthday. At the hour of the snake, white light consumed everything. When I came to my senses, there was only a sky filled with blood rain and shattered corpses. For many years afterwards, I could never escape that nightmare of that day. And even now... The intrigue. Alright, Official Soldiers, Chapter 5. Interesting. Okay, so right now in the flowchart, we're in Chapter 5, so we can go here to probably learn a little bit more about Ling's past, or we go to Chapter 6. The 6th year of Tianqi, the capital. A sudden white light engulfed everything in sight. Okay, so it was an attack. It wasn't an accident that happened during the shadow play. Houses turned into ruins. People turned into corpses. My father turned his face towards me, smiling as if trying to say something. However, behind him, a white light suddenly flared up. I reached out to grab him and to pull him out of reach of the light, but in that moment I grasped his arms. We were swallowed by that white light. Immediately, we were thrown backwards like swatted mosquitoes. My head hit something, momentarily robbing me of consciousness, and I blacked out. Upon awakening, my father was gone, and I found myself amidst the debris. The area was filled with the remains of buildings and burning fires. My ears were ringing, unable to hear any sound, only sensing blood oozing from my ear canals. my clothing laid in tatters, and the numerous people laid naked on the ground, their bodies mutilated. The world turned into a storm of blood rain, dyeing my entire body and the entire ground below in deep red. I hoped the blood rain would put out the flames of the buildings, but the fires only grew, refusing to be extinguished. Where was my father? What was he doing? I slowly got up, wanting to search for him, but only to realize that I was holding something in my right hand. He was holding his father's arm! No! It was my father's severed arm. I woke up from the nightmare, my back drenched in cold sweat. After watching the last shadow play last night, memories of that year flooded back. Later, I sat in the camp, lost in thought for a while, losing track of time. 4 hours later, Tung took over the watch duty. I attempted to catch him sleep, trying to escape the nightmares, but I tossed and turned, not sleeping deeply. For the next 2 days, I was lost in my thoughts. My mind buzzed in chaos, and my spirit felt like it had lost its way. I walked, ate, and slept in silence. I didn't continue studying shadow plays with Mansui. That day, she packed up and took everything back to the pack horse. She must have wondered about my unusual behavior, but I didn't feel the need to explain. Of course, there's no need to explain anything to her.
Ryo, 最近様子がおかしいぞ。何かに取り憑かれたようだ。
Dude,
どうしたんだ?
I'm not vibing with you no more. What are you doing? On the 4th day of the journey, Tung pulled me aside. Just reminiscing about that explosion.
典型の大爆発?
Yeah.
なぜ急にそんなことを思い出した?
No idea. Just hit me.
やれやれ。思うに、こないだ、あの劇の道具を拾って呪われたんだ。さっさと捨てちまえ。
Yo, that's bad juju. I mean, he's not wrong. Not happening.
まあいい。考えを変えないなら、どうしようもない。りょう、山の中を4日も歩いた。そろそろ、道館の近くに着く頃だ。インさんは道館の近くの水耕村に協力者を手配している。そこに着いたらいいもん食ってぐっすり眠れるさ。
Shrigol Village. Okay. Alright. Tung hinted for me to tough it out. Walking through the mountain for days, the monotonous scenery and constant vigilance against beasts and bandits got us down. Hopefully, once we reach a place with people and could feel the local vibe, I would perk up a bit. The road to Shrigol Village was tricky. We learned to stay sharp in times like these. My gut feeling was spot on. On the morning of the 5th day, we had to cross the official road to confirm the way to the village. Trouble hit us. Hold up. I spotted something and stopped. At the same time, I raised my right hand to signal to the others behind me.
りょう、どうした?
Someone's here. I pointed ahead. Tung looked over. About 30 steps away, a group of 6 people came into view. They all wore iron helmets, green iron armor, and had swords at their side. Walking through the woods, their helmets glinted in the sunlight.
盗賊か?
Doesn't seem like it. They look like soldiers.
官兵がなぜ山の小道を?
God damn it. Don't know, but we gotta avoid them. Tung and I huddled. Doing this kind of job, soldiers were the last thing we wanted. Sure, the world is a mess now, and the soldiers, busy with rebels as they are, probably wouldn't care about us. But it'd still be bad to run right into them.
子羊ども、黙って動かず、みんなしゃがむんだ。あいつらが通り過ぎるのを待つ。
Tung let out a deep breath, eyes wide, and whispered orders to the lambs behind us. We all squatted down, watching the soldiers tens of steps away. Great. They weren't heading our direction. I feel like someone's gonna make a noise. It's gotta be it. Just had to wait a bit. Just a bit longer and they'll be gone. I stared at the soldiers in the distance, watching them move in a single direction. Their leader disappeared from view, followed by the others getting further away. They'd be gone soon. But then, something unexpected happened. No. Out of nowhere, I heard a lamb yelp. Oh! I spun around. Kui the lamb, suddenly stood up. She stomped her feet and hastily stepped back, almost falling over. She pointed to a patch of grass ahead, her face pale with fear, tears welling up. Other lambs hearing her quickly fled from the spot she indicated. Suddenly, the silent woods echoed with lamb cries and screams and frantic footsteps turning into chaos. Tongue cursed and hurried to Kui trying to cover her mouth. But it was too late. The soldiers spotted us. They changed directions and came towards us. Oh no. I mean, from the moment we spotted the soldiers, we all knew that this was gonna happen. Who's there? The leader yelled from a distance. All 6 soldiers stopped. They pulled out their swords, ready to fight, facing our direction. Oh, what now? I asked Tongue. He usually knew what to do in situations like these.
子羊め、いつもは静かなくせにこういう時に限ってわめきやがる。レオ、俺がごまかすから、お前は子羊たちの縄をほどくんだ。疑われないようにな。
Tongue said to me, and I nodded. Yes, we need to untie the lambs first. When the soldiers got closer and saw the ropes around the lamb's waist, they'd surely figure out that we were traffickers.
お役人様、落ち着いてください。さっきのはうちの小娘が叫んだんですよ。
That's actually pretty good quick thinking, I'm not gonna lie. Tongue walked towards the front of the line, about 10 steps away from us, yelling at the soldiers as he went.
お前らはなんだ。領民でさ。
It's your average everyday folks.
どこの領民だ。何をしている。
歌集場から参りました。商売をしに洛陽へ行くんです。
そのまま動くな。確かめてやる。
Tongue and the soldiers were yelling at each other from far away. I just freed Xianghua and was about to untie Mansui, but they were getting closer fast. Bad. Couldn't untie all the lambs in time.
そこのやつ、動くなと言っただろう。
I wanted to sneak over to Hunger and Sui to untie them. The soldiers spotted my move and stopped me quickly. They came closer step by step. I checked out their outfit. They looked like border guards near the Tongguan. Not too tidy, but all with the same gear, even the same swords. The leader had a taller helmet and carried a short bow on his back. Seemed like their officer.
先ほどは娘が叫んだのか。
Ah. Oh, so that's what their attire looked like. Okay, gotcha.
はい。
なぜ叫んだ。
蛇を見たんです。
商売人だと申したな。何を洛陽に届ける。
Well, we're not actually traders, we're actually performers. See, we got the shadow play thing. The head soldier asked sharply. Tongue was stumped. We knew we only had food with us and nothing else. If we made up goods and they asked to see them, we'd be caught. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. We're ferrying folks. I chimed in when Tongue couldn't answer, talking to the soldier.
人間を運ぶ。先ほどは商売と言っていたのに、人間を運ぶだと。
Ferrying folks is still trading. We've been asked to take these kids to Luoyang. I replied calmly.
そうか。人間を運ぶのか。自分で認めたのではないか。そなたらは人売りであろう。
No, it's the kid's parents who asked us to do it.
ではなぜ感動を怒る。
Didn't you avoid it? I calmly replied to the soldier and ended with a jab. It did seem a bit odd. Usually soldiers like them would stick to on the main road. Why didn't they take the main road out of Tongguan? Could it be they had something to hide? Could it be they were deserters?
おい、りょう、お役人様になんて口の利き方だ。お役人様、どうかご勘弁を。こいつは口の利き方を知らないやつでして。確かに俺たちは人間を運んでいます。感動をいかないのはここ数年の災害で感動は難民だらけだから。噂に聞いたことがある。難民は気が荒く小娘をさらって食っちまうと。食料や娘が奪われないように山道を歩いたんです。
お前らは一体何をしておるのだ。人売りではないのか。
話せば長くなる。異難の富豪に依頼されて洛陽に腰入れするお嬢さんを送り届けるんです。
Tung had a bright idea, like he figured out a plan. You can see his smug face like, yeah, I got this.
どの娘だ？
あそこです。
Tung pointed at Qianghua. Qianghua was put off guard by the sudden attention. Stood frozen, her face pale, clearly surprised to be singled out.
そなたが腰入れする娘か。
The soldier squinted and looked at Qianghua, asking her a question. Qianghua remained silent with her head bowed. Maya and Tung's heart jumped to our throats. Bad. If Qianghua spills the beans about us being human traffickers, now it'd all be over.
はい、お役人様。私です。
Yay. Huh? Right when Tung and I were tense, Qianghua suddenly spoke up. She nodded pleasantly at the soldier, speaking quietly without looking at him. Why? Tung and I were both surprised. We didn't think Qianghua would help us lie.
ずいぶん幼いようだが、腰入れするのか？
Because we had to go through the forest anyways.
なぜ平民の服を着ておる？
Qianghua fell silent, looking scared as she kept her head
お
down.
役人様、うちのお嬢さんは幼く見えますが、もうすぐ腰入れできる年頃なんですよ。嫁ぎ先が顔を見たいと言ってしばらく洛陽で暮らすことになったんです。ああ、平民の服を着ているのは俺の思いつきなんです。今回は遠い道のりだし、盗賊に出くわすかもしれない。
Yeah.
庶民の服を着ていればさらわれることもなかろうって。
Why would you wear fancy clothing when you're hiking? Although he frowned, looking skeptical, it's unclear if he bought our story.
では他の子供はなぜ縛られておる？
Safety reasons. They fall over very frequently. Suddenly, another soldier chimed in. Huh, they actually have different models for them. Interesting. Respect. Next to the leader stood another, slightly chubbier soldier. He had a long black bag slung over his back, maybe carrying a spear? He hadn't said a word before. Now he noticed the ropes tied around the lamb's waist. Realizing only Qianghua wasn't bound, he raised his suspicions. Tung again couldn't respond, just kept quiet. The soldier's eyes sharpened, coldly scanning us. Not good. Can't explain. Qianghua's cooperation was surprising, but these soldiers were digging deeper, picking apart our story. If we were taking Qianghua to get married, bring a bunch of kids her age didn't make sense. Also, why these kids were tied up was even harder to explain. I placed my hand on the hilt of my saber, and the soldiers took a slow step forward. No one spoke. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the chirping of insects. Sweat beaded on my forehead. I knew a fierce battle was about to erupt. Should I strike now, take out the leader, or bide my time and wait for another opportunity? Oh ho 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 ho! I want to get I'm pretty sure that this is going to lead to a bad end, like a death, so I think it'll be strike immediately. Take action. No more chances. I might as well strike now. Take them out one by one. Ta! I stepped forward, grabbed my sheath with one hand, and pulled out my blade with the other. The lead soldier's eyes widened in shock as he saw the gleaming metal in my hand. Ooh, a swish! Before he could react, I swiftly swung my blade, landing a soft blow on his neck. Blood spurted out in an instant, and then splattered all around. Clutching his bleeding neck, he staggered backwards, step by step, until he fell.
長官がやられた。あいつらやっぱり賊だ。
ではまた早まったことしやがって。
Because I feel like if we waited, one of the kids would have spoken up as to why, or we could have found a reason. But because we're attacking them, I guess it's 5-on-2 now. It's not good. The other soldiers yelled angrily, the sound mixing with some grumbling, and the lamb's scared cries as they ran off. The rest of them drew their weapons and charged at us. Kill! Just saw blood. Now my heart's boiling with the urge to kill. I heard these soldiers are nothing but trouble. Some even go around killing innocents to use their heads as fake proof of killed rebels. Can't reason with them. Gotta fight hard. Let the sword do the talking. Clang, clang. Stepped up, swinging my blade twice more, clashing with one of the soldiers. Thud. I shifted my footing a bit and spun around, landing a kick. The soldier stumbled, thrown off by balance by my blows, so I pressed on and swung my blade again. Swish! I aimed poorly, so I slashed horizontally, hitting the soldier's chest. His armor was cracked, leaving a shallow wound, but it wasn't lethal. What a pain. If he weren't armored, I could have finished him off in one blow. But it's okay. Neither I nor Tung got hit by the swords, and we've broken the formation for now. The guy I struck earlier might not die, but he's still out of the fight. Just need to take note of down one more, then it's 2 against 2, giving us a big edge.
賊めくたばれ
Looking towards Tung, I saw a fat soldier from before grabbing something from his black bag. Then I realized it was a musket. Fuck! He pointed the long black barrel our way. It's over! Ugh! The musket went off with a bang, and a blaze of fire shot out from the barrel, followed by a plume of black smoke. The intense blast hit me square in the chest, and my vision was instantly obscured by a mist of blood. I stared in disbelief at my chest as my body uncontrollably fell backwards to the ground. My chest cavity was now a mass of shredded flesh, and blood gushed out like a fountain. Tung cursed angrily, got swarmed by 2 soldiers, and was cut down in no time. The soldiers closed in, swinging their blades wildly at me. I figured I could take them on with my sword, but then one of them pulls out a musket. The flash from that thing was like the light from the Tiangchi explosion. Times have really changed. My blade felt useless against that type of weapon. I chuckled at the irony. In my last moment, I saw the soldier's blade coming down towards my head. Ending. Died halfway. Times have changed, and now heads will roll for the bounty. Ending. Killed by soldiers. Alright. This episode might be a little bit shorter. I think it's like just over an hour, but I think that's where I want to stop since at least for me it's really late. But that was pretty interesting. I saved right before the choice, so that we should be good. But yeah, I'm kind of interested in the growing relationship between Liang and Mansui. Also, I mean, I still think that like what he and Tung are doing is very, very despicable. But clearly, like, Liang has a conscience, and it's what's kind of holding him back from being kind of like Tung, who's just kind of selfish. And yeah, I feel like once I don't exactly know where this is gonna go, but I assume that once if we even get this far, I'm not sure if things will change, but once we deliver the children, we see that the person is, what was it, like the demon? I forgot what the correct phrasing was. The rich dude was actually like a demon or like some extremely evil being, and the girls are going to die. I feel like Liang might take some action. I feel like that might be where this is going. We also got some of his past as well as Mansui's past too, so very, very interesting. So in our extra page, we now have a bunch of illustrations. At first I was like, man, we only have 8 illustrations? That's really disappointing. I was really wrong. It was 8 pages of 8, or 7 pages of 8, and then 2 more. So the game is not cheaping out on the illustrations. I really like them. And I'm missing some, so I don't know how, because I think I did most of the choices. Unless, well, one thing I didn't do is continue that path with getting the wrong choice for the puppets, but I'm pretty sure that led to the same thing. Either way, yeah, I'm interested in. Honestly, the more I'm playing it, the more interested I am, because like at first, the first episode was uncomfortable, as I kept mentioning before. It's kind of like the first episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where like just a whole bunch of horrible stuff happens, but the more you play, it's just like, ooh, this is actually really, really good. But yeah, we'll continue with the story of Liang and Mansui next time. Until then, I will be seeing you. See ya!